Welcome to A Quest for Metal. Today we are talking about bands that I struggled to get into, bands that took a while to, enjoy and to digest, but now I really enjoy the bands and I really love the bands in some cases, because to me, most of my favourite bands are bands that I didn't initially like, which is a strange thing to say. But once upon a time, these are the bands that I just really didn't care for. I really didn't like. But then over time, and on repeated listens, they kind of just seeped into my veins. And I don't know if it's just me, but it's just, those are the kind of bands that just are fantastic. They're longer lasting bands than ones where it's quickly one and done. You're like, oh, that's amazing. Then after a year, you're like, it was okay. It was okay. These ones have lasted a while. So let's kick it off with the big one for me. Well, one of the big ones on this list. A little band called Opeth. My favourite band of all time. That's right, I didn't like them at first. I did not like Opeth at first. I didn't like the growls, which is insane to say. That's crazy to say, but I wasn't into that style. Back when I was getting into metal, I've said the story loads. I liked Iron Maiden, Metallica. I liked Cradle of Filth for some reason. Don't ask why. I love them still, hence the poster. But the low growls death metal wasn't big into. I preferred black metal. Preferred high pitched screaming, high pitched singing. That kind of stuff I liked more. So when Opeth, I finally heard them, I was just like, don't get it. And the songs were just too complex, too all over the place. I struggled to latch onto the music, which again was strange because I latched onto Dream Theater straight away. All clean singing, high pitched, ticks all the boxes for what I liked back then. But Opeth didn't. But then, I heard Watershed in full, and after a while it started to click with me, and I was like, okay, I'm getting down with the songs like Burden and Porcelain Heart, which are a bit more mellow, with the cleaner singing. And I started to get into some of the other songs, like Heir Apparent, The Lotus Eater. And then eventually I listened to Heritage in full and I went backwards and listened to all the others. And then I was like, yep, this band is phenomenal. What is going on? Why did I not like them at first? Don't understand why, because now they're my favourite band of all time. Love every single album. Love every single album. I saw them on the Heritage Tour as well, and I did enjoy the death metal stuff when I was listening to the Heritage, but yeah, my favourite, Watershed and Heritage and stuff, I really liked them, and then the rest I was kind of like, And then, obviously, I love the early stuff more now, and it's been years and years and years since then, and they're still my favourite band. Still my favourite band. So yeah, Opeth, the big one. Another one where I wrote down, a recent one. Shining, the band Shining, DSBM. I love DSBM, always have done. I've done rankings on the channel from years ago about Zasper and Leviathan and stuff like that. Total Self-Hatred. I loved all those bands. They have the kind of style, that kind of pain shriek, which I just loved, and just a tremolo pick and just I was like, this is fucking for me, this is great, this is depressive, this is just sadness, I love this to pieces. Shining was always an outlier in the DSBM camp. They weren't quite as depressive as the rest of them. I know the lyrics are, but the music was not, and it just didn't grab me. I was just kind of like, this isn't what I'm looking for in this genre. I'm looking for the really pain shrieks, Really, think like Bethlehem's first album. Something like that. Or Silencer. I'm looking for something like that, whereas Shining does not that at all. So I was kind of like, it's alright. It's alright. It has a couple of good riffs here and there, whatever. It's not what I'm looking for. Cut to, recently, Jamie, started saying, you gotta recheck Shining. I know you only listened to Halmstead, and you thought it was alright, pretty good. You got to re-listen to the rest of them. So I did, and I did, and I did, and I did, and I did, until I've been just binging them non-stop. They are so good now. I don't know what I was thinking. Yes, it's not that style of black metal. It is not. It's in the same category, but it's not that style. It's so riffy, and the fact that I love, you know, like Bolt Throw and stuff like that, I should have loved Shining from the get-go. But I didn't, but now every riff is infectious. The vocal lines are weird, but they fit. I love everything about it. I love the inserts, just where he's like, and then fucking, that sounds like I was doing Hawk Tour. Fuck's sake. But anyway, and then it goes into a riff, is like, Nicholas from Shining is the original Hawk Tour. Stuff like that. It's just so catchy, and every album I'm just kind of like doing the fucking stink face when the riff hits. It's one of the riffiest bands ever made. People say DSBM don't have riffs. Shining out riffs fucking Satanic Warmaster. And I love both, but Shining is like the most riffy band I've ever heard in my life, and I love every single album. Binging them constantly. Every single time I'm in a car, a Shining album goes on. That's how much I love them. Shining is a big one. What else I wrote down? Psy! Experimental Japanese black metal. Did not like them at first. Thought it was too weird. Too strange, too out there. But now I'm like, hell yeah, it's too strange, too weird, and too out there. It's fucking sick. Imaginary Sonicscapes, that was a hard album to get into, but now, thoroughly love it. Thoroughly love it. The new one, Shiki, so good. Every single album's fantastic. The early stuff, more doomy. Scorn Defeat, a masterpiece. I love every single Psy album, so I don't know why I struggled to get into it. I think it was because it was in the mindset of black metal has to be icy cold, you know, depressive, just bleak. Whereas this is zany, this is out there, and different. And whenever anything is different, it's like a, no, bad. But really, you just gotta get used to it. So, sorry, I got used to it. Another one is, you want to do a big one? You want to do a big chungus? Black Sabbath. Oh boy, Black Sabbath ranking is my most disliked on the entire channel. I wonder why. I was never big into Sabbath, which is crazy to say, but I've said this before. I love Judas Priest. I love Iron Maiden. Saxon, great. Def Leppard, great. I love old school heavy metal. Sabbath was not one of them. Sabbath was not one of them, and it was for the pure reason of I didn't like Ozzy's voice. I just didn't like his voice. And the stuff that I heard, you know, like Crazy Train, I know that's Ozzy's solo stuff, but yeah, Crazy Train, Paranoid, Iron Man, I was just kind of like, this is like The Godfather, I'm supposed to love it, but I really don't. I just really don't. But then, I mean, way later, I started to enjoy it. I love Dio stuff, I love Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, Dehumanizer. I always loved those albums, so take those to the one side because I love them. But the rest, I finally dived deep into the discography during that ranking. During that ranking is when I first discovered Black Sabbath, really. And I found a newfound love for it. You know, my favourite was Sabotage, and that's an Ozzy album. That's an Ozzy album. But the riffs hit, just everything around it was amazing. The guitaring, the bass, the drums. I love the Tony Martin era stuff now. That's fantastic. Why didn't I listen to that before? What an idiot, Questy. Started to love Ozzy's gruff vocals. I still prefer Dio. Still think he's a better singer. And Tony Martin. But there's something about Ozzy which is just iconic. And yeah, I really love his albums now. So Black Sabbath was a big one where I just struggled to get into it. And it was mainly because of the vocals. Mainly. I know a lot of people would put Merciful Fate and King Diamond in these lists, but for me, Ozzy was the one. I love King Diamond straight away, but Ozzy, not so much. But now I do. Now I love him. And also, I love, what's the song with the national act? Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I love that album now. I had it like really low down, almost last in that ranking. No wonder it's the most disliked. Now I really enjoy it. So there you go. Questy's changed. Another one. Let's go with the final one. It is a band comprised around cheese. Guess what it is? Manowar. I used to not like Manowar. I used to think Manowar was just the epitome of just cringy cheese nonsense. And I didn't give them the time of day. I kind of laughed at some of the songs, and I was like, yeah, we are the kings of metal coming to town. And I was just like, yeah, this is goofy. I can enjoy it for being goofy, but that's about it. It's not a serious band, you know? Why should I take these guys, these muscle-clad fucking Americans, I don't know where the fuck, they're from America, aren't they? These muscle-clad Americans covered in oil. Why should I take them seriously? And then, I listened to the albums in full. And they have some serious songs and some fucking amazing solos. Holy crap, Battle Hymns is a heavy metal, absolute legendary album. Hail to England. Soza. I love Kings of Metal now. Fighting the World, you know, it's so good. There's so many great Manowar albums. So if you just pass them off as cheese like I did, don't. They have killer songs. They also look fucking killer. I love them. Born of Black Wind, Fire and Steel. So many good heavy metal songs. I'd play them over a lot of other heavy metal bands. They have some absolute bangers. I love Manowar to pieces now, but it struggled to get into it past that big, thick layer of brie. But I'm past it now, and I can embrace it. Swim in the Baby Bells. There you go. Those are some bands I struggled to get into. There are some others, so I could do part 2. Let me know if that's something you want. And also, pop down in the comments below, what bands did you struggle to get into that you now really enjoy? Let me know, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.